Let me know if you see the record icon.
Yeah, it's recording.
Okay, good. We're good to go. Well, welcome everybody. It's really good to see so many people on here. We've got over 40 people and we're really excited about that. Just want to thank everybody for showing up on behalf of the Lifestyle Medicine Interest Group at MSU Denver, as well as just the Lifestyle Medicine program, the entire program. My name is Jonathan. I'm one of the officers in the Lifestyle Medicine Interest Group, and just a little bit of housekeeping real quick. If you are a student at MSU and you're interested in the Lifestyle Medicine Interest Group, I posted my email address in the chat at the top. So feel free to reach out and I will give you some more information about being in the Lifestyle Medicine Interest Group. You don't have to be in the Lifestyle Medicine program. It's just a place where people who are interested in health and wellness can congregate and share ideas and kind of support each other and support the lifestyle medicine movement. If you'd like more information about the lifestyle medicine program at MSU Denver, Dr. Tollefson, maybe you can post your email address in the chat as well. So if anybody's interested in the lifestyle medicine program, you can reach out to Dr. Tollefson and she can answer any questions that you have. Just want to let everybody know that we are recording this discussion and it may be used for educational and marketing purposes down the line. So if you have concerns about privacy with that regard, we totally understand. You may decide that you feel more comfortable turning off your video feed, changing your name on your Zoom box, whatever it is that you want to do to feel comfortable, we invite you to do that. So we are really excited today to have Dr. Luis Allen with us, as well as Selena Avendano. Dr. Allen hails from Costa Rica. He is a lifestyle medicine specialist and a Blue Zone ambassador. For those of you who are familiar with Blue Zones, there is a Blue Zone in the Nicoya region of Costa Rica. Dr. Allen also has a focus on clinical herbalism, permaculture, research of ancestral indigenous traditions, cultures, and medicine, which sounds amazing to me. He's worked abroad in the United States, in Panama, in Africa, as well as in Costa Rica, working with NGOs that focus on human rights, access to health, equity, and sustainability. And Selena is from the Monteverde Institute, which is a nonprofit community-focused organization in Costa Rica that focuses, at least to some degree, on academic tourism. So Dr. Allen will be fielding questions toward the end of the hour. If anybody has questions in the meantime, feel free to put them into the chat. And at the end of the hour, when the appropriate time comes, we will cover those questions and try to get as many of them answered as possible. That's plenty of talking from me. So Dr. Allen, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. We are all so excited. We've been looking forward to this. We're really grateful to you and to Selena for taking the time to share your knowledge and your experience and your wisdom with us. So on behalf of MSU Denver and all the students and all the faculty, thank you so much. And I will go ahead and turn it over to you now so that you can begin your presentation.
Thank you. It's actually an honor to be here with so many people that are interested in this, that I think a lot of people should be interested. Yeah, indeed, it's a pleasure. And for the sake of time, I want to start sharing, go deep into the subject. And we're going to talk about blue zones. And I like to give it a special twist here with when we talk about ancient knowledge, right? One of the theories that we have related to blue zones is that it comes from ancient knowledge, from traditional activities and behaviors from the people that lived here a long time ago and other parts of the world. Please let me know if you can see the screen. You can see the flow chart and the blue zones, and you okay, perfect. So we're going in. Reverse engineering longevity. So life expectancy in the United States today averages around 78.8 4.9 years. But the year that this data was taken, it was a couple of years ago, over 70,000 people in the United States have reached their 100th birthday. You know, that's a lot of years, but some people are achieving that. So what are they doing that the average people are not doing or that won't do? So to answer this question, the the pictures are not showing in the screen, right? The faces of the people in the chat. No, okay, perfect. So to answer this question, the Blue Zones teamed up with the National Geographic. It's a magazine, very famous, to find longest lived people in the world and to study them. So that brings us to something, lifestyle and genes. They knew most of the answers laid within their lifestyle and environment. At some point in life, we thought, not very far away in time from now, that genetics was everything and that everything was coded and that whatever was brought into that mix, it was a definite thing. Now, through epigenetics and other scientific information, we know, and through this Danish study, that only around 20% is defined by genes, how long they live, and the rest is determined by lifestyle. Around 80% is determined by what happens in that lifespan, right? And it makes a lot of sense. Um, so through this research, a team of demographers was set to find the pockets, these little places of people around the world with the highest life expectancy or with the highest proportions of people that reach above 100 years of age. So 5 places met the criteria for blue zones. For the people that already know, you're gonna enjoy the pictures. They're beautiful places in general. And for the people that don't, please add them to your database and why not visit them at some point. So in Italy, the Barbagia region of Sardinia and the highlands, the mountains, highlands, we can find the highest concentration of male centenarians. If you see the picture here, it's a very beautiful, colorful village. I would add more trees, but then you look around, you turn around and you're gonna see this beautiful blue ocean. So it makes sense why people live a long time there. It's too beautiful not to. Another place that was found in those 5 regions that were blue zones is Icaria, Greece, a beautiful Aegean island, and it's where we find one of the world's lowest rates of middle-age mortality and the lowest rates of dementia. I always joke with this picture that it's almost a sin to have dementia when you see pictures like this, because you're always going to want to remember this beauty. And then we come to Costa Rica, the Nicoya Peninsula, those beautiful turtles there. There's this amazing event that happens every year in Costa Rica where the turtles come and lay eggs, and you see thousands of them. It's a one of a kind experience. And we have the second highest concentration of male centenarians and the world's lowest rates of middle-age mortality. Give me 1 second just to check on time, just to be sure. Okay. And then we come to Loma Linda, California, where we can find the Seventh-day Adventists, and they live actually 10 years longer than their North American counterparts. Beautiful Okinawa, Japan, where once they called the land of the immortal. Females over 70 years of age are the longest lived population in the world. They have a variety of behaviors and let's say social agreements that we may touch a little bit in the next in the presentation. But in general, it's a beautiful place also where community and solidarity are part of their ways. So after finding those 5 regions, they're called blue zones. they researched to find what were the reasons this group of people in those regions were living so long. So they, in Spanish, we have the words have a lot of gender into them. So every time that I do this presentation in Spanish, I say médicas, antropólogas, demógrafas, and epidemiologists, because if I say it normally, it would sound only like they were males. But in English, we don't have this problem, so it's great. So medical researchers, anthropologists, demographers, and epidemiologists all came together to research on what were the reasons that were making these people different than the rest of the population in the world. So they found some common denominators, and they called it the power of 9. The first one is to move naturally. And by natural, I really mean natural. So the world longest lived people don't pump iron, not that they can't, but that's not the secret. They don't run marathons or they don't join gyms. They can do, but it's not their common denominator. Instead, they live in environments that constantly nudge them into moving without thinking about it. Just think about the time that you bring water from the river or from a well, or when you're chopping wood for the fire, or when just walking in the forest foraging for mushrooms or foraging for wild berries. All of that is movement, and all of that brings nutrition. Rain might come. I apologize if that creates a disturbance. They also grow gardens, and they don't have the mechanical conveniences that we are used to in the house for yard work or for any type of agriculture. Then the second of the power of 9 is to know your purpose. We all know how powerful it is to know what we want to do and to have the tools to do it. Of course, that's another thing that is more related to equity. But yeah, the Okinawans, they call it this purpose. They call it ikigai, and the Nicoyans, we call it plan de vida. It's a plan for life. Um, Let me know if there's any problem with sound. It's rain is there. So knowing your sense purpose, purpose in life can add up to 7 years of extra life expectancy. Then this thing that we all want to do every day, to downshift, slow down. People in the blue zones and everywhere, they all experience stress. And this leads, as we know, to chronic inflammation associated with a lot of age-related diseases. So what the world longest lived people have that we don't are routines that shed that stress. The Okinawans, they take a few moments each day to remember their ancestors. The Adventists pray. The Icarians take naps. And the Sardinians do the happy hour. And it's not that they do this only, they do a lot of other things that honor the day, that make them or let them remember about key foundations of their life, and to just slow down and think about what is their life and what surrounds them. Then Harahashibu, the 80% rule. Um, it's an Okinawan kind of like mantra, a Confucian mantra that is said before meals, and it reminds people to stop eating when their stomachs are 80% full. In the Ayurveda culture, the ancient science medicine of India, they say that after your first burp, I know this is not the nicest thing to say, but after your first burp, you shouldn't continue eating. So that's an interesting way of measuring how much your stomach is full. And if you think about it, it's a physical thing. So this 20% gap between not being hungry and feeling full may be a difference between losing weight or gaining it. People in the blue zones eat their smallest meal in the late afternoon or early evening, and they don't eat anymore the rest of the day. And as people of health, we know a little bit about how important that could be to reduce inflammation of the esophagus due to acid. Yes, plant slant. This very important nutrition, and it could be controversial, but let's keep, or let's stay in science, in evidence. So beans, including fava beans or black beans, soy, lentils, they are the cornerstone of most centenarian diets around the world, not just in America. Um, Meat is eaten, yes, part of the blue zones. It's regularly eaten only 4 times per month, and it's about the size of a deck of cards, 3 to 4 ounces of meat. And this just makes sense. There's less technology, there's less access to big supermarkets where you can keep the food frozen. So it's more of a case of the animals that are around and that could be used at special occasions. And yes, it's part of their nutrition, indeed. Another thing that they do is wine at five, especially the Sardinians with their happy hours and their amazing wine. In general, yes, there is a benefit from the wine specifically, but it actually takes us into a more important matter, which is the community, right? The nucleus of people that share regularly their experiences, their well-being, or their tough moments, right? They have a background, they have a foundation where they go to every day. And once you start looking at the videos of the people or experiencing the lives of the people that live in these blue zones, you start to see how tight and beautiful is the nucleus of people that where they share every day. So almost all people in the blue zones do consume alcohol moderately and regularly, except the Adventists. This is an interesting fact. Moderate drinkers outlive the non-drinkers. It's not clear evidence. And they say the trick is to drink 1 or 2 glasses per day of preferably Sardinian wine, of course, full of flavonoids, with friends and with food. That says or, but I would suggest this with food and friends. And no, and this is a joke, you cannot save up all weekend and then have 14 drinks on Saturday. We all know that. Belong, very important factor here. All but 5 of the 263 centenarians that were interviewed belong to some faith-based community. And this is, I think, a very important matter, and I hope nobody feels insulted or anything, but the denomination was not an important factor when this was calculated or when this was measured, meaning that um, even though there could be different denominations, the benefit still exists. And now it's not only the rain, but my cats are in an argument. So if you hear them, I apologize. They like blue zones. So family first, the loved ones first. Successful centenarians in the blue zones put their families first. And this means keeping aging parents. This is a key factor. We might not have amazing relationships with our parents, or we may have amazing relationships with our parents. In this type of places, they do the work to sustain the nucleus. And that means keeping aging parents and grandparents nearby or in the home. And this brings a very obvious result. It lowers disease, experience, um, purpose. It also reduces the mortality rates of children and also of older people. Why? Because it makes sense that if you take care of your children might or probably will take care of you when you age. And when this nucleus becomes this solid, there's less disease, there's less accidents, there's just less risk. Of course, also another factor that it seems it's very hard for our society right now is to commit to a life partner, which can add up to 3 years of life expectancy. Some people might think that it actually lowers the life expectancy, but it doesn't. And it makes sense that once they are committed partnership, they invest their time and love to children. With that, I don't mean that single parents cannot do the same. It's very possible for single parents to achieve the same amount of love and time that happens with a committed partnership. But yes, so the in the end, what I'm trying to communicate is that the children that receive this care by two or by one are very likely to give it back once the parents are older. And this makes a nucleus of family solid. The right tribe. Family is not only in blood. So the world's longest lived people choose or were born into, there's actual examples of people that move into blue zones and receive their benefits. It's a very interesting subject to go to. Um, but there's social circles that behaviors that support their healthy outcomes. For example, like I was mentioning before, the women, the Okinawans, created the Moais groups. They're 5 people that commit to each other's lives. Uh, and it's beautiful. They might not even know each other. They might be part of the family. They do this decision early in life, and they do commit to each other for life. They're a very solid nucleus. So this is also very interesting. Research from the Framingham studies shows that smoking, obesity, happiness, loneliness are contagious, at least to a psychological extent. I know this might be controversial, but they call it emotional contagion. And it's just this situation that you might have experienced where there's a lot of people that are biking in the morning. You might go biking with them, or if they are all very happy people in a meeting, you start getting happier than before that. And there's a lot of study that has to go into it, but I think you do tend to behave similarly to the groups that you are with. So the social networks of long-lived people have favorably shaped their health behaviors. So that's the power of 9. So to make it to the age of 100, you have to win the genetic lottery. But to make it to the 90s, you have a lot of power in your hands, especially if you have a healthy lifestyle that can reduce the risk of chronic disease and others. So the Adventists demonstrate that the average person's life expectancy could increase by 10 to 12 years by adopting a blue zones lifestyle. So that's a little bit about blue zones. And as we mentioned, Nicoya in Costa Rica, where Selena and I are, is one of these blue zones. And it's also my favorite. It's not that it's a blue zone. It was my favorite place in Costa Rica before I knew it was a blue zone. It's true. Now I think that it's nice to have a little bit of an experience of the people that live in the blue zones. I'm going to start this video, and please share with me if the audio is working and if the video is working as well. It's a short 5-minute video. I hope you enjoy it.
I don't hear anything.
Yeah, I don't either.
You don't hear it? Okay, let's try it again. Let's see.
You might have to take out your headphones.
Panchita Castillo, Reineri Fonseca, Jose Guevara, Andres Lopez. They are some of the dozens of people who are more than 100 years old living on the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica. It is an idyllic finger of land located off of the country's Pacific coast. The weather is good, air is fresh, life is simple. People seem like they want to live forever. But there is much more to the secret of longevity on the peninsula. Researchers say Nicoya is one of 5 zones around the world that house an unusually high number of centenarians. Years of studies have identified 4 separate traits that scientists say are shared by the centenarians living in all of those zones around the world. Proximity to family and friends, diet, a certain level of physical activity, and a spiritual life. At 109, Panchita is the oldest living person in Costa Rica. She is a great, 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 great grandmother. She was born in Nicoya in 1906. She still receives daily visits from 93-year-old Pablo, her youngest son.
Ah, amaneció bien. Bien, también.
Up until a couple of years ago, Panchita would still chop wood and tend to her garden. She now spends her days with her family sitting on their front porch.
Ella disfrutó mucho, a ella no le faltó nada. La comida, cuando eso se comía muy sano. Porque pongamos a ver, yo que tengo 66 años, yo me acuerdo de que uno comía cosas sanas, no comía ahora, como dice ella, ahora todo es inyectado.
Not too far away, 102-year-old Andres Lopez still likes to take a machete in hand to help clear his land. Staying physically active is common to the centenarians of Nicoya. And like Panchita, Andres is still surrounded by his children and their extended families. Diet. It is one of the factors scientists look at the most when investigating Costa Rica's centenarians.
¿Cómo no? Esta es una de las comidas base de nosotros, es el arroz y los frijoles.
Tortillas are a staple for all meals in the Costa Rican diet. Traditional methods for making them involve the use of lime to soften corn husks. The lime contributes calcium that can strengthen bones that weaken in old age. But nutritionists say access to that type of healthy diet that includes natural herbs and fresh produce is nowadays not that easy. Today's centenarians grew up in times when healthful food was more common. Nutrition is but one factor involved in keeping people healthy as they age.
Probablemente haya más de un secreto que el que vemos, pero que efectivamente la alimentación ha contribuido, ha contribuido. Es lo que llamamos el ambiente, ¿verdad? No solo la genética, sino lo ambiental. Probablemente hayan genes ahí que prolonguen la existencia, pero un ambiente que lo favorece. Poca contaminación, poca exposición a agroquímicos, a alimentos chatarra. Además, es gente que trabaja, la actividad física es permanente. Es decir, todos esos elementos del ambiente están dados también ahí.
Cumpleaños feliz, te deseamos y cumpleaños, cumpleaños feliz.
Jose Guevara just celebrated his 106th birthday. He says he still feels relevant. His family life is his support system. Costa Rica treasures its centenarians. They have sparked interest from all over the world. Examples of what they say a good, simple lifestyle can achieve. And with the largest population of people over the age of 80, the Nicoya Peninsula stands to continue producing centenarians for a long time to come.
Okay. So that's a little bit about them. I do have to say that Doña Panchita is no longer with us. She has parted, but she has been a very important part of this awareness, this awakening of behaviors and customs in Costa Rica. So In general, Costa Rica has its important factors that do drive this wellness or this prosperity or this long lifespan. And it's been like that for as long as we know in general. So this Central American nation, it's a little bit far away from the United States, but it's not so far, it says there, but it's far ahead of many countries in terms of longevity. Like we said before, the US is at 78.9, recent number that I got from, I think from the CDC, I can't remember exactly. And Costa Rica is 79.8 years. And we're an economically secure and we have an amazing healthcare, luckily. Well, not luckily, it's been through a lot of work from our governments and our people. This is Panchita, lady we were talking about, beautiful lady. And in Nicoya, there's other factors that are at play also, as in Costa Rica. It's an 80-mile peninsula just at the south of Nicaragua. So we have two countries that we border with, Panama on the south and on the north, Nicaragua. This Nicaragua side is actually before there were any borders or the type of borders that we have up today. It was part of a place that was called the Gran Nicoya, and it was an indigenous population, a Mesoamerican population that descends, and I will talk a little bit about that later, from the Mayas, and that's the peninsula. It's just such a beautiful area where you find amazing amazing views, amazing beaches, amazing a lot of things. So we talked about ikigai on the Okinawans, which is like some sort of plan de vida or a purpose or a life plan. And this propels positive outlook among the elders and among the people in general, and it keeps them active. The word ikigai is the source of value in one's life or things that make one's life worthwhile, a reason for being, which is very, very important to find reasons and purpose in this life. One of the purpose that I should mention that they have in general is that they focus on their family and family, not only blood, but their neighbors. And they do focus on the well-being of the others as well as their well-being. They have this special ability to be empathic, to listen and to laugh. And they, like I say, they frequently visit their neighbors either because they're going to have a drink or because they're going to share some food or because somebody's growing beans and the other one's growing corn, so they would exchange, or just because they're going through the forest to go to the school and they visit some of the neighbors. They tend, like I said before, they tend to live in big families with their grandchildren and with their elder people. And that gives everyone a sense of purpose, right? No matter what exactly is happening outside there in life, where we talk about success, it's more in the nucleus of the family where you find this purpose. Of course, you can find it outside too, but there's no need. So lessons in Nicoya, what are the lessons that Nicoya teaches us about longevity and about other things? They have a strong sense of purpose. They have a plan. They feel needed. They feel valued. They feel that they can contribute. No matter if they are 2 years old, no matter if they're 95, they feel that they can contribute. I've seen in indigenous regions here in Costa Rica, and you may think this is terrible or dangerous, but I've seen little kids that are less than 2 years old already walking with 2 sticks, doing like this because they think they're machetes and they're helping do the agriculture of the land or just taking away some grass so you can have a path. And they would get the machete at 4 or 5, and you know it might be for our view for it to be dangerous, but they do share their chores. They do. It doesn't matter how old or what gender, they do share their responsibilities. They drink hard water. In Guanacaste, you will notice it after a month. If you take one of your clean canteens, you will see the white marks of the hard water. And some papers have come out saying that this could be a reason for lower rates of heart disease and stronger bones and fewer hip fractures. I do have to tell you that then there were some studies saying that it was more related to kidney disease, but then we saw that there were some pesticides that were used generally in the places where we were seeing kidney disease, and so there's some doubt there. Where is it coming from? They keep a focus on the family. We've mentioned this before. They eat a light dinner, like the Hara Hashibu from the Confucian mantra. They maintain their social networks, and I don't mean digital social networks. I mean face-to-face social networks. They know how to listen. They're empathic. They are very hard workers. They have to create almost everything from scratch. They're committed and efficient. Even they also expose themselves to sunlight very often. And they do smart exposure. They are already aware that there are moments in time where you have to protect yourself and not be out there in the sun. With that, I suggest to everyone, especially now with what's going on, to produce vitamin D, to get out, to follow the protocols, but to get some sunshine, please, everyone. We love sunshine here in Costa Rica, sometimes too much. Costa Rica is a very happy place. We have our problems, but we also have a lot of resources and a lot of privilege and a lot of beautiful things that we have to be happy about. And that has reflected on the index of happiness, where Costa Rica has top 3 or 4 times. It's also related to the fact that we have a very solid education system. We have our problems, but we're one of the first in Latin America and one of the first in the world. Education is free. Our people make a difference, of course, because 20% of our GDP is located into health and education. We can do that because we don't have an army. It's a country of one of the greatest densities of species in the world. And even though we don't have a lot of money, our GDP per capita is less than many European countries and North American countries. We do well with our finances in terms of education and health. We're based on tourism and agriculture and exports. Technology is becoming an important part. Our well-being is one of the top ones in the world because of all of the privileges and factors that I mentioned before. And we are achieving a low ecological footprint that should be lower. And in the future, we do hope that it goes down. So it's important to define this. Money, it's not a defining factor to achieve good health. We have scientific evidence and we have examples all around the world. Like I said, Costa Rica abolished its army in 1949, and that made it possible to relocate all this funding into education, health, and pensions. It's a good model to follow by other nations. In 2012, Costa Rica invested more in education and health as a proportion of gross domestic product than the UK. A professor in Costa Rica, the University of Costa Rica, he says that this well-being might be attributed to like strong and solid social networks, families, and neighbors. We want to think that we are a leader when it comes to environmental protection. We more than think that we are a leader. I think we have to keep on working, keep achieving. I will talk about that a little bit later. The Costa Rican government does use the tax collection from the sale of fossil fuels to pay for protection of forests. And this program is expanding. Like I said, there's a lot of things that can be better, but we are making progress. In 2015, 99% of electricity was from renewable sources. And this is to to meet the goal of becoming carbon neutral. It was supposed to happen in 2021, according to the last president elected, but it seems that the whole world decided to take a break from that, even though it's essential to make an effort. What can be improved? What can be improved in most of the world, right? Income inequality. We've seen with this pandemic how much the people that have more have even more now, and the people that have less have even less. So that's a task for the health professionals and for people in general. And that's why it happens, because we don't redistribute wealth across population. We have to commit to environmental sustainability. Indeed. We talk about family as the importance of the right tribe. We talked about the Moais, the groups of a lifetime commitment between friends or family. We talk about putting family first. We also talked about family not being only blood, but the people that help you in your network and that you help and you share with. We talked about the importance, even though it might sound difficult, it's been proven through ages how keeping parents, aging parents and kids at home, it's a good mix. And to commit to a lifetime partner. I leave that to you, but there's evidence that it increases lifespans. This is the family of Panchita with his beautiful family. Keep focus on the family. We're all family. We come from the same first beings. We talked about the environment, how important it is. We have a lot of biodiversity here in Costa Rica, so we need to protect it. We can think of ourselves as leaders, but it's actually our responsibility and our duty to do it. We need to protect our privileges. And of course, a clean environment is absolutely essential for human health and well-being. I don't know why that escaped from our perspective or view or way of thinking, but now it's starting to catch on and we're starting to understand that it's essential. Though these interactions between the environment and humans are highly complex and difficult to assess. It's not a black or white thing, though this makes the use of precautionary principles very important. That means if you don't have evidence, or if the evidence shows that you might hurt environment or humans, you just don't do it. And I think we need to go further than that. I think it's a little bit late to just be precautious. We need to regenerate. So I think technology, projects, processes in the future should not only have a precaution towards not hurting or having a low impact, they should regenerate. We're in that part of our existence as humans. To keep on going, we need to regenerate. Yes, we've understood environment and the hazards that it presents to us, and how that has changed, and how we are affected because of lack of preparedness, and how human actions like deforestation, climate change, and biodiversity loss play a very important factor here. So to obtain true health, it's absolutely necessary to understand and address the environmental issues and its impacts. Yes, like I said before, Costa Rica collects these taxes, and they're used to conservation, reforestation, research in protected areas, and to become sea neutral. That's the beautiful peninsula of Nicoya. That beautiful tree that you see there, it's a guarumo, which is one of the favorite trees that sloths, one of our favorite animals, they love to eat that. It's also a good medicine. It's a bronchodilator. Blue Zone Nicoya, they embrace common history. And this is, to me, we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to try to go a little bit faster. We had a beautiful surprise at the end of the presentation. But this is so important for me. So Nicoya, the peninsula Nicoya, was a big thing called the Big Nicoya or the Gran Nicoya. It was filled with indigenous people that were descendants of the Mayas. So there's a big ancient tradition that comes all the way from the Mayas to the Chorotegas. And these traditions still remain. They might have changed a little bit, but they still remain in the populations of Guanacaste. And you can see also other types of indigenous traditions in other areas where there's indigenous populations in Costa Rica, and that would be a subject for the future. And one of the things that they have in common is that they have a diet that is fortified with maize and beans. We saw the tortillas before, and they talked a bit about how they are nixtamalized. So this is ancient technology. They use lime water with the corn. They call some hydroxide, and they combine it and they mix it, and this makes the food last longer because it reduces the risk of mold and of course its toxins, but it also increases the body's absorption of the nutrients, and also it releases an iodine that is locked up in the corn. So yeah, technology is not only as we see it now. Technology is thousands of years old that has happened. I am very proud of the purple corn in Nicoya. I hope one time you guys get to try it. This is an advertisement. It's a non-GMO. It's not genetically modified, so it has no pesticides, no fertilizers, and it's beautiful. And then the tortillas that come out of that, they're colorful and beautiful. The more colors you add to your diet, the healthier you're going to be, if they're natural, of course. Yeah, the normal corn harina or the masa harina is filled with pesticides and genetically modified. Not that I have anything against genetically modified specimens, but if you have to keep those specimens alive with pesticides, I am against that. Yeah, they have cultivated a natural way to take care of their seed, to have an autochthonous seed, and that food is part of their lifestyle, and it's a natural thing. They do protect those staple foods, and also they have deep knowledge, the indigenous communities, about the medicinal plants. The diet has changed, as you saw. They now eat more rice than squash, but they mix it with beans. Even though it's white rice, it reduces the glycemic impact. That's the sloth that I was talking about before. Beautiful. We talk about belonging, having spirituality. That's the best image I could use to represent spirituality. Is something that we do in community, but it's an individual path with no denomination, with the best hopes. Yeah, we noticed that 90% of centenarians interviewed had faith or spirituality, and it didn't matter if it was a denomination or the other. They all invest time in finding sanctuaries where they focus on God or their family or nature, and they claim, and I believe them, that it reduces their stress and strengthens their social networks and their inner networks, if we want to talk about neuroplasticity and behavior. They also believe that health is central to their faith or spiritual practice. We talk about now mindfulness and meditation as something that has been proven to impact health and behavior, to have efficient decision making. And in this last part of time, what's the impact of lifestyle on health? It's huge. What is lifestyle? Is a way of living by people, groups, and nations in a geographical and economical space, where it could be influenced by political, cultural, or and religious contexts. This is our way of life, pura vida. You have to come and see it for yourself to understand it. It's hard to explain, but it's definitely us in Costa Rica. Yes, lifestyle can include a lot of things, from activities, fun, recreation, diet, your job, and your family. They're different, though they have the different zones have something in common. There's not like a recipe. We all have different ways in different areas, different weathers, and not only we can find them here in the 5 spots. Well, the World Health Organization has accepted lifestyle as a very important factor into health outcomes. And they also have talked about how 60% of factors related to health are related to lifestyle. So We know that 60 to 80% of chronic illnesses are due to lifestyle, and that they can be prevented, even reversed. And we all know that millions of people are following unhealthy lifestyles. We know that also unhealthy lifestyle can bring a lot of problems with diseases that we all know: metabolic disease, cardiovascular, hypertension, diabetes, overweight. I can fill this in more pages with so many illnesses that are related to lifestyles. So the thing here is that the relationship of lifestyle and health should be highly considered. I would go even beyond that phrase. We need to flip some of the pyramids and some of the behaviors and some of the paradigms to achieve what we're looking for, which is sustainability, equity, transcendence as humans. This is a good example of how blue zones work in terms of nutrition: 95% plant-based, 5% animal-based, where 65% is carbs, 20% fats, and 15% proteins. I promise you, none of the people at the blue zones are calculating this or looking through their books or their tablets to see how much they have eaten. It's just a natural way of being. Very important, a standard American diet, or SAD, SAD, needs 2 football fields to feed 1 person a year, and a plant-based diet with the same amount of space can feed 14 people per year. Not that I have anything against burgers, but 12,000 gallons of water are enough water to a family of 4 per year, and it's the amount required to produce 10 pounds of beef. Think about that. I'm not against meat, but I love evidence. So lifestyle is a medicine, evidence-based approach to preventing, treating, and I love this word, reversing disease, because as professionals of health, we don't talk about reversal of disease, and I think it's a very powerful word. By replacing unhealthy behaviors with positive ones. We know healthy eating, being physically active, managing stress, avoiding risky substance abuse, adequate sleep, and having a strong support system. That last one is amazing, or very important in general. Yes, this is a very interesting chart by the ACLM, I believe, and it talks about that. And I think in general, most of the people that are present here know what lifestyle is about. I don't think it's a bad moment to highlight that, because to allow the body to protect and heal itself is the key. To me, to think that anything outside of you is going to heal you or is going to make you feel healthy is a little bit misguided. There are tools that can help us help the body to achieve this, but not the other way around. So we educate, we guide, we support positive behavior changes, and we place focus on evidence-based optimal nutrition, stress management, sleep, and physical activity. It importantly encourages active patient participation. It treats the underlying lifestyle-related causes of disease, so it can cure. I know people are afraid of the word cure, but I don't think we should be afraid of that word. And we use medications as supplements to therapeutic lifestyle changes. And medications could be plants, it could be also pharmaceuticals, more traditional. And considers the patient's home and community and environment. Okay, so there's no need to answer this question. We know why it's essential to use lifestyle in sustainable healthcare. And we've talked about evidence about what lifestyle costs and how it can be useful. And so lifestyle, to prevent, to treat, and like I said, oftentimes reverse the lifestyle related chronic disease that's all too prevalent. That's thank you in Spanish. Many of you probably know it. And there's a lot more that we can go into. We don't have time. There's something beautiful coming in the way for us with Selena. But in the end, what I would like to transmit or to communicate is that this knowledge comes from a long time ago. And we need to look back into our roots to find some of the solutions that we're not finding in our present. So think about that. When you're thinking about the good things that are in your area, try to find where they're coming from in your family, in your neighborhood, even in the blue zones. Try to find where they are coming from and what's the other things that are related to those nucleus of people. And yes, that's time for me. I hope we have more time. Selena would be next. Selena, is everyone listening? Everything's okay? Yes? Okay. So Selena is an amazing, active part of the community of Monteverde, and she's part of the Instituto Monteverde, which is to me one of the amazing examples of what happens in Costa Rica when people, nature come together and they achieve things for the community and for sustainability. So I don't want to take more time, and I want her to join and to be part of this. So Selena, thank you so much, really. And yeah, I hope you love this experience.
Okay, so well, thanks everybody for being here. I want to try to do one of the things Luis was talking about one of the 9 principles. I hope this will help you guys downshift a little bit. Let's see, give me a second. So where I live, it's not a blue zone, but we do have people who live over 100 here. I have met some centenarians, especially in the Nicoya area. I think one of the most special things was talking to these people, seeing how lucid they are. And then until I walked out of their homes, I was like, oh my gosh, this person is over 100 years old. Incredibly lucid, which I thought was amazing. So let's downshift a little bit. If you want to move naturally, we're gonna walk in the cloud forest. As I talk a little bit about the Monteverde community, I was seeing some of you guys asking about challenges like fast food and things like this. I think just we always have new challenges that come across. So I'm just gonna share the experience of this community of how we have dealt with different challenges as a community. And I think that's like one of the main things here. So I hope you can hear this presentation as well. Cool. So today we have a guide.
Are you ready to explore the children's eternal rainforest? Let's go.
And our guide is Alexa. She's a colleague of me. So we're gonna walk with her as we travel through the cloud forest. So cloud forest, just so you know, this is Monteverde. Cloud forest, you can see, they're full of this fog, and that's why they're called cloud forests. They represent less than 1% of the forests of the world. And they are really important because they're sponges. They produce water. And they're not only in the tropics, but yeah, they have some characteristics that are shared in different cloud forests. And this is a small part of Costa Rica. So Costa Rica is a very small country, roughly the size of West Virginia, to give you an idea. And this small country also has 2 massive oceans on each side, right? The Pacific on one side and the Atlantic on the other. And then we have all these mountains that has allowed Costa Rica to be very biodiverse. Also, we are in the tropics, as some of you guys have written down. So yeah, a key element of the nature around us and that affects us as human beings is the biodiversity that surrounds us. So here, it's a lot of forests. Just in Monteverde, well, Luis was saying how Costa Rica has 5% of the land biodiversity, and I want to clear that it's land biodiversity because we know very little about the seas. And in Monteverde, we have about 2.4, 2.6% of the biodiversity of the world. And this has happened because we have been able to preserve the forest. And this is really important because if we're talking about challenges, preserving the forest is a challenge because it's not just like we can tell people, hey, stop going into the forest, stop reproducing, and let's just preserve all the forests around us. Costa Rica has done a really amazing thing that since the 1980s, we've managed to reforest the country 10% more. So Costa Rica currently has over 50% of forest coverage. And this is really amazing, especially if we consider that the population of Costa Rica has doubled. So right now we're walking in the children's eternal rainforest. This is where we're at. And I will, as we get to different parts of the tour, interrupt what I'm saying. But what's really important is that these efforts haven't been just by the government. They have also been by the people. So for example, this children's eternal rainforest where we're walking today was achieved thanks to not only a few conservationists who started the project, but to many people who joined the project internationally as well. So people fundraised and worked together to create this, which is the biggest private national park of Central America, private reserve. And this affects us humans, like our surroundings, like I said. For example, Costa Rica produces over 90% of its electricity from renewables, most of it hydroelectric. And these forests in this area of Monteverde help produce the water that produces this electricity for one of the lakes. So these forests are responsible indirectly for 40% of the electricity that we produce in Costa Rica. And then there's also like all this water and how we use it in agriculture, in our food. I mean, these forests are the watershed for 4 major rivers of Costa Rica as well. And it was all thanks to private efforts. So we need to understand as people, as a community, how our decisions affect the environment and how the environment itself affects us. We can help the environment. And by helping the environment, we are helping ourselves as well. So Monteverde was founded by a small group of farmers originally who had subsistence agriculture. But then other people started coming in, and this is really important because I don't know, but Monteverde has seemed to have a pull on a certain type of person. The second group of Costa Ricans to come to Monteverde were people fleeing the civil war of Costa Rica, and many people in Monteverde do not know this, which means they were looking for peace. And then another group of people who came were Quakers, actually from Alabama, who were pacifists themselves, fleeing the Korean War or having to go to the Korean War. So this whole thing of your tribe, of finding your tribe has been really important in Monteverde, because something that has brought us together is our sense of trying to seek peace. And to find peace, we cannot only do it with people, we also have to do it with the environment around us, because we cannot be at war with nature, okay? So that's something that the people here have understood, and we have worked together to deal with the challenge of conservation, but also of meeting human needs. And this is really important because we have to understand that they're one and the same. So this forest has allowed us to survive now because we have ecotourism, right? So it's a way of generating an economy from the environment, but also because we're learning new systems of creating things like food forests, for example, which are forests that we can eat. Also learning about, for example, there's medicine from these forests. There's some trees, particularly in this reserve, that has been used, for example, for quinine production and other medicines. And we have studied very little of what the forest can give to us. For example, in medicine, these plants have been surviving for millions of years. They have dealt with different kinds of fungus, bacteria, viruses themselves for millions of years. So they already have come up with many of the solutions to many of the problems that we have today. Okay, this is an interesting sound. I wonder what it is. I think we should try to figure it out. It's actually one of the 4 loudest animal species that there is. I wonder if any of you guys have heard anything like this. It looks like it's coming from a tree. Ah, okay. So this is a juvenile bellbird in this case. It takes them about 3 years to learn how to honk. And these birds are honking to check the females. Those are two juveniles practicing. And now this is a male adult. And just so you know, these birds are so cool that some of them are actually bilingual. Now these birds are endangered. So because we have been living in this forest and interacting with this species, we have become aware of their importance to us and to the environment. And we have created efforts together to try to help these species, and by helping species like the bellbirds, help many more. For example, trying to save this bellbird has created a reforestation program at the institute where I work, where we reforest about between 15,000 and 20,000 native trees a year to promote connectivity, to help species
Oh, look,
survive.
there's a central pogon flower.
Because we understand that by helping one species, we help many others. Like, for example, this flower, like it might go unnoticed, but then we understand that this flower, which is small, red, happens to be pollinated by that hummingbird. And that hummingbird exists because of that flower and vice versa. There is a codependency in the forest, and there is a dependency between species that we ourselves have. I mean, we know now that most of the DNA in our bodies isn't even like, let's say, human. It's of a whole bunch of different interactions happening around us. So we are also biodiverse beings, right? So if one of the main challenges isn't even climate change, even though it is climate change, it's biodiversity loss. This is a huge challenge because it also affects us indirectly, right? So how can we as humans be a part of a larger community, not only of humans, but also of like different living beings? What is our responsibility of humans in our surroundings? And living in the forest has taught us a lot of things in Monteverde and in general. And I think one of the coolest things is that we have the solution right now. Forest has been around. Somebody's, okay, yeah. Okay. Forests have been around us and there's cycles. For example, this is a beetle eating another beetle. There is no such thing as waste in the forest. Everything functions as something, and we have a lot to learn from that because we can stop seeing our garbage, for example, as waste. We should start seeing it as a resource. And also, we were saying a lot like about how our food is produced. Instead of, we have to pay more attention of what is produced around us, the impact it has. And some of you guys were mentioning fast food chains. Yeah, that's a big issue here as well. And actually, we don't know how long the blue zones are gonna exist as such. But one of the things that has allowed us to maintain for longer is our willingness to help our community, to buy local, for example, to support locals. So that also has helped us maybe not have any major food chains in Monteverde. Somebody has to put me on the microphone because I hear the voices in the back. Oh, but yeah. Okay, so here we're walking and exploring a little bit more. And we're thinking about resources. And when we talk about resources, let's not think just about like money, but like people, our surroundings, what we have to learn, the resources in our community to deal with different challenges. Okay, looks like Alexa found something pretty cool. Let's see what it is. Alexa, what are you looking at?
Let's go take a closer look.
Oh, look, that's a pretty cool tree.
So strangler fig trees have amazing stories associated with them. Would you like to learn more about them?
So we're not going to talk too much about strangler fig trees, but something that's important is let's see things from different perspectives. Strangler fig trees grow from the top to bottom instead of from the bottom to top. So sometimes when we have a challenge, we have to look at it from a different perspective to see how we use our resources appropriately. Fig trees have those beetles inside of them in their seeds. And they start from the top to bottom because basically there's a competition for sunlight. So the way they have dealt with this competition is to start from the top to bottom. They start growing on the top of another tree, then they throw their roots, which go down, and eventually the tree inside of it dies, making it hollow and working as fertilizer for the tree. So those trees are pretty awesome to climb inside because, as you see, they are hollow in the inside. And it's really amazing to go inside this tree and realizing that you're inside a tree, that you're like climbing inside a tree. It's pretty cool. So like there's a lot of things around us that we can learn from our environment. And I think one of the main things my organization does and that we're really proud of is trying to integrate the needs of the people around us, trying to create solutions that come from the bottom up, but understanding also the impact that it has on our environment. So for example, we work with over 105 families in the area. Like the students who come with us have homestay experiences, which is really cool to have this cultural interaction, to learn from each other, to understand that sustainability and lifestyle is not an issue that we only have in one location. These are challenges that we have worldwide. We have to stop thinking only of like small places, but understand that even though we come up with local solutions, they can potentially impact a wider world. For example, like in climate change, some of the decision, like with the Paris Agreement for Climate Change, was led by a Costa Rican woman called Cristiana Figueres, who was inspired by our community in Monteverde. So that's the thing, we're a small community and sometimes we live in small communities, but we have the ability to inspire. Like this frog, which is really small, but we have learned a lot about fungus, for example, from the way frogs have and have not been able to deal with it. So let's think about this, like when we make decisions, personal decisions, how do we integrate the community in what we do? How do we participate and exchange and come up with solutions together? Let's see here. We're gonna learn a little bit from your colleague of mine right now.
Oh, look, a scientist. Let's go talk to her.
Okay, let's talk to Luisa.
Hi, my name is Luisa. I'm screen testing this morning. This is part of a citizen science program of the Monteverde Institute to monitor the water quality of the streams in the area with the help of local students from the high schools. This program has two main goals. One is to keep a long-term database of the quality of the streams, and the second and the most important one for me is to promote the awareness about the health and ecology of the streams in the area. With this, the students learn about some issues that the streams in the area has, like residual water discharge in the streams, also deforestation that affects the quality of the water, and climate change. We use macroinvertebrates, which are small insects that we can see with the bare eye, to determine the water quality of the streams. Some, they have different tolerances to pollution. So the ones that tolerate the pollution very good, they are indicators of bad quality water, and the ones that don't tolerate pollution, they don't survive in contaminated waters, so we use them as indicators of good quality.
So I think like one of the biggest lessons we've had is that there's wisdom in the collective. There's wisdom in the collective. So things that as individuals, we are not able to deal with, we deal with in the collective. We bring the solutions into the community and the community how we deal with challenges. And this is like finding the right tribe, right? If you guys have something that you're passionate about, something that you know, once you know your purpose, which can be many passions, like you don't have to have a single one, but you on the purpose, we learn from each other. And I think the coolest thing that we have had in Costa Rica, and that maybe it's one of the challenges, the biggest challenges we have as well, is how do we continue to empower people to understand that we can change, we can be part of the solution, rather than being just like victims, you know, is that to understand we have the power to make decisions in our life as individuals, as a collective, to make positive change, and that this change creates like a bigger impact. It ripples and creates a larger effect. Believing in change is one of the biggest challenges we have today. Because we are bombarded with information, and sometimes this information is negative. But sometimes in the forest around us, we see that these small birds are still there, and many of them have to deal with even larger challenges. For example, these birds migrate, many of them. They come from the United States to Costa Rica and Costa Rica back again, these little, small, fragile birds, and they manage to do it. We can do big change, we can create big impact if we work together. Like these birds are from different species actually, and they're working together to get food. So we can do that as well, right? So yeah, just wanted to tell you a little bit about that. See how awesome nature is, see that we have an impact on nature. We are a part of nature. I mean, we are a biological species, right? And that nature has a big impact on us. And we have a lot to learn from each other. We can support each other even though we're different species. And we're made up of a combination of things. And that's basically it. And now we're leaving the wonderful children's eternal. Thank you very much. And I don't know how to stop sharing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sure, you're welcome. You're very welcome.
I was just wondering if anybody has any questions for Selena, or anybody wants to do any comments if we still have some time.
I do. As far as like this is Vu, and with you were talking about like collaborative, like you know, how are you guys doing that through? Is there like organization that you're actually collaborating with now to keep everything like in like preserve in the area for the environmental aspect?
Yeah, like the organization I work with, there are many NGOs here in Monteverde. So it's a small community full of NGOs precisely because people believe in being active and participate and not wait for solutions to come, but to actually participate in the solutions. My organization works not only with the environmental, but also with the social and economical factors of the community. So basically we strive really to, as we open spaces for education, we're also opening spaces for sharing. And it's in this sharing that collaboration happens. And it's in seeing successful experiences that other people want to replicate it, right? And that's why I think there's so many initiatives in the areas, because we've seen that one works. So then another one is like, hey, I can do that too, right? And this is how it starts to grow as several initiatives.
Are you getting help from other people too, as far as like outside of the country?
Yes, like for example, my organization, it's financed thanks to academic programs. So we have a lot of exchange programs because like I say, it's really cool because it's trying to be like a win-win situation, right? So that's how we finance ourselves economically, but it's also a huge resource for us when it comes to learning about sustainability issues and challenges that people have all over the world. Because learning, for example, like students from yourself to see how you deal with challenges, we learn as well. And just bursting our bubble, like getting out of our comfort space is a huge, huge academic learning experience for all of us, right? So that's like really has been really amazing for us. I mean, we have students from all over the world and in many, many different careers. And it's just so valuable all the time to be able to share.
Thank you.
Rafael, did you want to ask a question? I don't know.
Yes, I actually just want to, well, first I'll start off that I'm very blessed to be here to be able to get this experience and information, but I just want to talk about something that came into my head as you were talking about wildlife in Costa Rica. I actually, and I don't know how familiar you guys are with what she does, or I'm not even sure if it's a program or anything, but I got the chance to meet a professor at the university that I attend to. She's actually a biology 2 lab instructor, and she travels to Costa Rica to study the birds. And she told me a little bit about how she does it. I guess they play bird music to attract the birds, and then they catch them and label their ankles to then let them go and then track them later on. And like they'll come back in a couple years and just look at the ways that they evolve. And I just wanted to know, do you guys do that out there? Are you familiar with this? I really love that. It's just so amazing.
Yeah, it's called the MOSI project. It's monitoring of it's in Spanish, the signals, but you can find it online. It's called MOSI. That's a study that's being done throughout the Americas to understand why bird populations are going down and to research why. There are several theories on that, and we're about to put on a pretty cool antenna that monitors wildlife. So we're really excited about that. It's like geeky information, but yeah.
Right. I love it so much. So I just wanted to see if you guys knew about that. I was so fascinated when I had first learned about it. There was actually an opportunity to do that experience, but of course I was a busy student around the time and I couldn't get the chance to do it. But I just want to say that's awesome. And I hope I get the chance to do it or do something similar to it in the future, of course.
Well, Luisa, the one in the video, she's actually like one of the leaders in that. So if you come in April or November, which is when we do that, you're welcome to go, because we do it with students. They learn also how to deal with birds without hurting them, and to understand also, because they're the ones who are going to inherit the responsibility, right? So we try to include them as much as possible. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Selena, I think there's a question on the table that I think is probably of interest to a lot of people on this call right now that Dr. Allen began to answer through the chat. And that is, does your organization have volunteer opportunities, and how would students find out more?
Yeah, I can give the contact. We have volunteer opportunities, but we also have internship opportunities where, because volunteers sometimes it's like hard, but internship we have like more participation, and you actively get to produce information and participate in community programs. Because I think one of the coolest things we have as an organization is the part that I supervise, which is the Center for Community Initiatives, that we make sure that all the resources that we get into the community, whether it be human, economic, or any sort of resource, actually has a positive impact on the community. So like our internships actually get to produce something pretty cool for the community somehow. And it could be helping out in research or others, like there's things continuously going on. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. We've got a ton of questions. The chat was blowing up, and Dr. Allen was answering a lot of these questions as you were doing your presentation, Selena. Dr. Allen, and we have probably 5 more minutes or so. We want to be sensitive to your time, Selena, and Dr. Allen, and also to everybody else's time. But would you mind, Dr. Allen, going through some of those chat answers and just kind of reading those out so that everybody is aware of how you responded to those questions?
Yes, absolutely. I need to go back into the chat. Yes. So let's see. I'm going to start learning more. Free. Okay. What do people in Costa Rica do to obtain most of their fruits and vegetables? They walk out of the door. That's the amazing thing. So I believe in food forests, right? It's one of the things that I'm working on here in Monteverde. But truly, as a child, I remember you will just climb into the mango tree. You will pick up the raspberries. You will eat the, I mean, everything was outside for you to eat. Now it's still common, especially in rural areas. But if you're in the city, you still get good produce in the farmer's market. Even in the supermarkets, we have the organic area, which my grandma would say food, real food. But Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. There's farmers markets everywhere. Let's see. The high altitude and the oxygen level as a factor of longevity. I would not like to discuss that right now. I don't have the evidence to say that it does. Of course, the contamination level in the air that you breathe, it would definitely be a factor of your longevity. It's either close to the equator. We can discuss about equator situation later because we do have problems with maps in general. But yes, of course, in the equatorial areas, food grows all year long, and that's a very important factor. So you got a lot of biomass, you got a lot of food production. So yeah, there's abundance, but that doesn't mean the same levels or similar levels of health could be achieved in places where there's more restrictions. Indeed. Let's see why and how these populations survive the impact of okay, they were definitely impacted by globalization and industrialization, but I think tradition has protected them from that. I think tradition is a key factor here. How common are fast food chains out in Costa Rica? They're very common. I would no, I don't want to talk about if they closed or not during pandemia, but there's a bunch of them, and it's becoming cheaper than normal food, and that's a problem. But thankfully, it still is not as cheap as staple food like frijoles and rice, like beans and rice and beans. And people in the blue zones have this tendency, and people in general now are starting to have this tendency of having their own gardens. And when you have low resources and you have a garden, you don't want to buy the fertilizer. You want to like build that biomass there with what you have, and yeah, that knowledge is shared. I don't know about time. Yes.
Yeah, I want to handpick a
Okay.
question that I'm reading right now that I think is fascinating, which is that you did answer on the chat, but it's is the amount of folk medicine more common in these regions and preferred over modern medicine? And does that also contribute to people living longer based upon the natural compositional context of plants instead of pharmaceuticals? Can you speak to that real quickly?
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful, beautiful question, but it doesn't have like an easy answer. I would say that definitely in rural areas, there's a tendency to access folk medicine more often. And I answer there that the empowerment that individual has when they know that they can do something for their health, I think it goes a very long way. So it's common in indigenous communities for children from the age of 3 to know about medicinal plants that they can use when they're walking through the forest. And they know and they achieve this knowledge through time. So I think this power, it has to have an impact, but I don't have the evidence, the scientific evidence to say this. And yeah, if I compare a pharmaceutical, if I compare, let's just say, all right, metformin. Everybody knows metformin, right? It's used for diabetes. If I compare that to 2 hours of daily nature walks, it's the same result. So I would rather take the walks in nature than to take the metformin. So I think there's evidence there that should come up, and I'm pretty sure that we will hear, if not now, in the future, that it's better to take plants than pharmaceuticals, though they're both chemicals and they both have to be taken care equally. You have to be responsible with, yeah.
I think a really a brilliant question is to both you, Dr. Allen and Selena, is do each of you live the power of 9?
Selena, you want to go first? Or should I? No, I can answer first. It's okay. It's fair. So I've tried everything in sense that I've been vegan, I've been vegetarian, I've been omnivorous, I've been flexitarian. I've seen what happens in my body and in my behavior with the different factors that I use in life, from activity to diet to networking. So yes, I try as much as I can, not to live by the power of 9, but to live by a natural way of being, an honest way of being, and definitely the network, the group to me is essential. And the better that I eat, the better that I feel. But definitely, I also love the fact of getting together with friends and one time or two times eating cheese. I will accept that, even wine sometimes. Why not? So yeah, I'm a flexitarian in general, not only with food, but with life. I try to be flexible.
Love that. All right, Selena, it's your turn now.
Actually, this I hadn't really known about the power of 9 until today. But for the most part, yeah, I think I do. Family, the only thing is I don't have my family close by, but my friends, like my tribe here is really, really close to me, and definitely like, yeah. And yeah, like the family that I do have, who's my son, yeah, definitely comes first. And my dog too. But no, my group of friends here, yeah. With food, maybe más o menos. I can probably improve there, but no, but I eat quite healthy, and yeah, with exercise, maybe I run more than just move naturally. It's my way of liberating stress, but but I think in general, kind of it. So maybe I won't make it to 100, but 90 healthy. At least that's my goal. I want to be quite healthy at 90. I strive. Meeting the centenarians was what made me think like, oh my gosh, I have so many years left if I do this right. And left like good, like really mentally, they were amazing. So yeah, I recommend healthy lifestyles for
So
sure.
it's not about being perfect. It's just about doing the best that you can, and observing the principles that have been shown to promote longevity and health.
And don't stress out about it, because then it defeats the purpose.
One last question from Abby. Have you looked into the health checkup routines of the people in these blue zones? Do they regularly participate in health checkups, or not really find the need due to the improved health through these practices, through the power of the 9? Do they still need the checkups as much as they would not if they didn't have the power of the 9 in place?
Okay, I would say, well, I have the example of Costa Rica, and the access of health in Costa Rica is great. The coverage is amazing. So I would say that they do have access to health regularly. In the sense, not that they need it, but they do have the access. I don't know about other areas of blue zones. It's an interesting factor to talk about. I also talked about the empowerment of taking health on your own hands, because it's the reality, right? You cannot put that responsibility on anyone else, because it goes away from your reach if you put that responsibility on somebody else. But in the case of Costa Rica, we do have great health access even in rural places, and sometimes the health needs that you need are not related to chronic disease but acute events. And so I do think that health checkups and the health system being open and accessible, it's a very important factor to keep this in the loop, to be healthy and have longevity. Indeed.
Right. The blue zone behaviors and lifestyle medicine really return power to the hands of the people, and make you not necessarily as reliant on the healthcare system.
Yeah, the only thing I want to add, at least in the case of Costa Rica, from my experience, what the people enjoyed was feeling that they were taken care of. So in Costa Rica, we have people visit the centenarios, or at least the older people. They're called ATAPs. They're like the heroes for me of Costa Rica. They in rural areas, they'll go out anywhere to find the people and make sure they're okay. And I think just the psychological factor of feeling that they're being taken care of is really important.
That's a really great point. And a lot of great points and a lot of great questions. If you typed a question into the chat and didn't have it addressed verbally, if you want to just scroll through chat real quick to see what the answer was to your questions. We've been going now for a little bit over an hour and a half, and we want to be respectful of everybody's time. But I just want to say on behalf of everybody, thank you so much for what you brought to us today. Selena, walking through the Cloud Forest was incredible. Dr. Allen, all of the wisdom and the knowledge that you've shared with us about lifestyle medicine and about the way that they do things in blue zones and in Costa Rica and Nicoya in particular has been amazing. And I'm sure that everybody on this call has gained a lot from everything that you both have had to share with us. We are so thankful and appreciative of you taking the time. And there's an open invitation for you to come back anytime. And I'm partially saying that because I'm hoping that you will reciprocate and say that there is an open invitation for all of us to come down to Costa Rica anytime we want, because I can see a lot of people getting their credit cards out right now and getting ready to buy some tickets to go down to Costa Rica. I sure am. So thank you both so much on behalf of the faculty and the students here at MSU Denver and the Lifestyle Medicine Program. Really wonderful stuff today. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Dr. Tollefson, by the
Thank
way,
you.
she had to leave to take care of picking up her daughter, but she wanted me to extend her gratitude to you both as well.
Yes, thank you. I mean, just the fact that we have this amount of people discussing these subjects, it just gives me hope. It makes me feel good about what we're trying to achieve. And yeah, I think thank you for the open invitation to go there. Everyone's invited to come here, and I do hope it happens in the near future. So yeah, doors are open. Please come.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
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 Gracias.
Gracias.